Hi everyone. Here are some rapists and child molesters who call themselves trans women. There are many more trans-identifying criminals in the news reports linked to from the crime page of my website at peaktrans.org. Just saying. You have to be brave to use your real name on social media if you are criticising a belief system, a set of ideas held by a deeply misogynistic and homophobic cult. I completely understand and respect why people will choose to be anonymous. I've seen people lose livelihoods for daring to say that men can't be women and women can't be men and they should keep out of each other's single-sex spaces. People lose friends and even the love of family members over this. That's how poisonous this ideology is, and why ever increasing numbers of people are waking up and fighting back. The point at which I lose respect for the right to anonymity is when they become abusive, or they lie, or they imply there's something sketchy about someone else, especially when that someone else is me. I wouldn't even bother with this particular issue were it not for the fact that I've seen many anti-women activists raise it as if it were some kind of gotcha. It seriously blows my mind that an ideology that has the support of people guilty of the vilest crimes imaginable would even try this one. So, here is the comment that inspired me to make this impromptu video from one Arachnid Lupus. I don't imagine that's his real name. Hi, sir. Yeah, he's another one who, because of his evident learning difficulties, can't tell the difference between men and women. You're awfully quiet about Nicola Murray, a gender-critical feminist who abused kids, while claiming that trans people are groomers. So where is your feminist outrage? Show some of that male anger you have, dude. Cheers, XOXO. Who the hell is Nicola Murray? Not somebody who had ever been on my radar. I don't recall ever having heard of her before media reports that she'd been convicted of child abuse started appearing over the past few weeks. And I must admit, I took no notice of them. I didn't even register her name. Why would I? I've read some of them now, and according to those reports, there were 4 victims and 10 charges, including assault and sexual assault, and the crimes date back to 2002. What I haven't seen reported is how she knew those children. I may have missed this, but was she related to them? Did she work with them? I don't know. The reason I mention that is that the majority of female abusers abuse their own children rather than anyone else's, but I don't think that applies here. So Murray would seem to be an extreme rarity. I also learnt from those news reports that she had been running a support group for women who have lost babies through domestic violence, as she had herself back in 2013. The group was based in Perth and called the Brodie's Trust, and she campaigned to change the law in Scotland to recognise causing a miscarriage through violence as a specific offence. That was her main focus, but as I've also learnt from social media, not the newspapers, she also supported other feminist campaigns like the one against men colonising womanhood and destroying our sex-based rights and protections in furtherance of their fetish, and presumably that was why she was followed on Twitter by top-tier TERFs, as this cultist called Atlanta 44, not your real name, is it, describes them when he says, "Look at these top-tier TERFs following a known paedophile. I thought they were all about protecting kids." Remember, this is one of those people who believes men can be women and should be allowed into changing rooms where little girls get undressed. So, A, not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and B, not best placed to comment on child protection. It seems he or she, I don't know, thinks all these people following Murray must have been aware that they were following a paedophile and were just fine with it. How low can you go, Atlanta 44? And why are you posting anonymously? Until I saw this post on X, it hadn't occurred to me to check to see if I was following Nicola Murray on there or whether I'd ever had any engagement with her at all. And I'd wager the same was true for everyone on that list, especially a few weeks ago on 23rd of April when this person first posted it. It probably just didn't occur to them to do so. Most of them probably took no notice of the story because, contrary to what a lot of our enemies have been claiming, Murray was not a high-profile TERF. I can find no evidence that she ever even spoke at a TERF event or that she wrote a blog or a Substack. None of the newspaper reports say anything about her being a gender-critical activist. I think, although I'm open to correction, that the only evidence for her being a TERF is that she posted TERFy comments on TwitX. So I'm not sure why any of us are supposed to say anything about Murray, although quite a few TERFs have expressed their shock and horror on social media, as well as dismay that she only got 3 years in prison. And she only got 10 years on the sex offenders register. I don't understand that either. But I don't know why anyone thinks we're obligated to comment on her, apart from Kelly J. Keane, who donated some of the money she'd collected for a failed project to Murray's group, the Brody's Trust, which, as Kelly J explained in the statement she's put out, was because Murray had presented herself as a brave and principled woman running a grassroots project that was focused on women. I mean, abusers are often very good at deceiving people, aren't they? Of course, it was incredibly hypocritical of Murray to latch on to a cause that focuses so much on safeguarding children as ours does, in opposition to the gender cult that lies to children and indoctrinates them. Every bit as hypocritical as highlighting this one bad apple they've found on our side when they've got so many on their own. Kelly J goes on to express regret for her support and to condemn Murray's despicable crimes. I have no hesitation in doing the same, though, again, I've no idea why this troll expects me to say anything at all about a woman I don't even know and have never had anything to do with. I'm not responsible for her in any way. I can only hazard a guess from comments made by gleeful trans activists on social media who are orgasmic over this, that this is simply a manifestation of the guilt by association fallacy. Because Nicola Murray, as well as being a disgusting, vicious, child-abusing beast, as well as being a domestic violence campaigner, is also a sex realist, as are most of the population, actually. But she is one of those that wasn't afraid to state publicly under her real name that she wants men out of women's spaces, etc. If she's a TERF, then how many more of us TERFs are also child abusers? See these comments? It's always the ones you most suspect, isn't it? As if he'd ever heard of her before. Jail a TERF, save a child. Always. Transphobes are never just transphobes. By transphobe, they of course mean anyone who disagrees with any part of transgender ideology. All of this is incredibly silly because in all the years we've been engaged in this fight, how many Nicola Murrays have there been? And how many trans-identifying men who've committed similar or worse than Murray have there been? I've only shown a small fraction of them in this video. It is now well known that a far greater proportion of trans-identifying men in prison are there for sex offences than in the rest of the male prison population. So I owe Arachnid Lupus a debt of gratitude for giving me a reason to talk about this. However, I'm not going to commit the same fallacy. The reason for harping on about those male criminals who claim to be trans women isn't because we're saying all so-called trans women are criminals or dangerous. We're saying that some men are. Some men are predatory, violent, sex offenders, including some who call themselves trans women. We can't know which ones are safe to be around, and that's another reason why we don't want any men, whatever they call themselves, in our spaces, in addition to the simple fact that we feel uncomfortable with them there. And if you disagree, then you're just a fucking misogynist. Got it now?